Today we're going to be working with various variations. It says for each situation described, write an equation that relates to two quantities, and then we're going to complete the table. So it says a square with a side length x has a perimeter of y units. So remember, perimeter, I'm going to add all my sides. So here I have a square. So my equation is going to be y equals 4 times x. So if I take my x values, 3, 7.5, and 9.5, and I plug them in for x, I get 12, 30, and 38. Okay, so let's look at the next one. This one says a rectangle with a length of x units and a width of y units has an area of 60 units. So remember, area is length times width, and it tells me it's equal to 60. So remember, if I had to solve for y, I divide both sides by x, and my equation would be y equals 60 over x. Again, taking 4, 8, and 12, plugging it in for x, into my equation, I get 15, 7.5, and 5. So let's look at number 3. 3 said a man 5 feet tall casts a 3 feet shadow, and at the same time of day, a tree y feet high casts x shadow. So remember, just like we did when we were doing tax, these are triangles. So I can set up a similar triangle, which means I'm going to set up a proportion. So I'm going to have y over x equals 5 over 3. So when I cross multiply and solve, I end up with 3y equals 5x, and I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So I get y equals 5/3 x. Again, taking my 3x values and I plug them in into my equation, I get 7.5, 15, and 17.5. Okay, same thing on number 4. It says a person 60 inches tall looks through a mirror 30 inches away from the wall. So this person is going to be 60. And if she's x inches away, how far up the wall can she see? So again, setting up a proportion, I'd have y over 30 is going to be equal to 60 over x. So when I cross multiply, I get xy equals 1800. Divide both sides by x, and I get y equals 1800 over x. When I plug in my values for x, my y values become 90, 45, and 30. All right, let's look at the next page. Problem number 5 says for x people to travel, the cost y in dollars for renting a bus at $7.50 per person. So if I pay $7.50 per person, if I plug in these three values, so when I plug 10, 25, and 30 into my equation, I get 75, 187.50, and 225. So look at number 6. It says the bus will cost $180 to rent, and if X people ride, how much will it cost per person? So here, I know X times Y is going to give me 180. And when I solve for Y, my equation becomes 180 over X. So again, plugging in my X values, my Y values are going to be 2250, 15, and 6. Okay, so let's look at the definitions on the. Okay, so it says, what do problems 1, 3, and 5 have in common? It says if x increases, then y also increases. X and y have a constant ratio. So my equation in that particular problem was y equals kx, where k is your constant. It says the term I'm going to use is direct variation. So my sample question says if y varies directly as x and y equals 12 when x equals 8, then what's y when x equals 24? So I want you guys to try and practice using that sample problem. So look at the right-hand column. It says, what do problems 2, 4, and 6 have in common? So in those problems, when my x increased, my y actually decreased. So x and y had a constant product. And the equation for that is y equals k over x, or we had x times y equals k, and then we ended up solving it. So that's going to be called an inverse variation. So my sample problem says if y varies inversely as x, and y equals 12 when x equals 8, then what is y when x equals 24? So the sample problems are the same question, but one's directly and one's inversely. So I want you guys to practice those two problems. And when we get in class tomorrow, you guys are going to do the practice variation.